Hello everyone, Carnasa here, and welcome back to Kerbal Gets Real 1965 Part 1. And in 1965 Part 1, we're hopefully going to be sending Serenity II to land on the moon. We also have Hermes VIII doing a little bit of a tour of the Jupiter system, going by Io, Europa, and Callisto. We've also got New Dawn 3, which we are going to launch to try and go to Neptune, and we have our first ever space station, COORS LIGHT. So, the first half of this episode was done in the live stream, which is available to view on my channel, and because of that, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but the quality kind of got set to potato by accident. I don't know how that happened, and I don't know why. I went in and checked all of my settings afterwards, and it should have still been decent, but unfortunately that ruined the quality for the recording as well. As you can probably tell here, it's not the glorious 180 pixel quality that these videos usually are. So that will be for the first half of the episode, but the second half of the episode will be better. But here we have New Dawn 3, our mission to Neptune, launched on the 23rd of January 1965. So this is going to be a direct transfer to Neptune. So it will take a very, very long time for New Dawn 3 to reach its final destination. One thing that I did want to do with New Dawn 3 is I did want to try and make the transit as short as possible. And I fiddled around with Transfer Window Planner during the stream to actually try and achieve that. Unfortunately, once I completed the burn, we were going to miss Neptune by quite a way. And the way I managed to fix that, well, it put our transit duration back up to around 38 years, which is a very long time. The original transfer burn should have only taken us about 26 years to get to Neptune. Still, that is a really, really long time. And thinking about it, if I carry on the episodes the way I am doing them, that's 52 episodes time before we finally get to see Neptune. So we've done it. We've sent New Dawn on its way to Neptune, but, well, New Dawn 3, but it will take a long time for us to finally reach that icy blue gas giant at the very fringes of our solar system. Here is just a little bit of a correction burn to get our encounter of Neptune a little bit better than it originally was. And if you want to see this whole mission, you can go and check it out on the stream. So, New Dawn 3, well, it was successful. I guess we did manage to get ourselves an encounter with Neptune. But now, the next thing that we're going to be focusing on is the Olbers Orbiter on the 25th of January 1965. Now, this is just once again a deep space maneuver in order to correct our encounter with Vesta. The Olbers Orbiter is our mission where hopefully we are going to get ourselves into a polar inclination of Vesta, use the ScanSat that is on that craft, and get a lovely, beautiful render of Vesta's surface, of Vesta's altimetry. So here I am just ensuring that our approach to Vesta is as close as it can be. I think when I get to Vesta's sphere of influence, I am going to try and change the inclination so that it is polar when we get there. That really shouldn't take too much delta V to do because Vesta's mass is so small, its sphere of influence is so small, so it shouldn't take too long. But there you can see we do have more than enough delta V to actually capture at Vesta, which is going to be glorious. So everything seemed to be going well in the stream so far, I guess you can say. And one thing that I do want to point out is I do now have a Discord set up. The link for that will be in the description of this video. It's also in my channel description. So if you fancy coming along to Discord to have a chat, why not come along to Discord and have a chat? I've also got a Twitter where I will be posting more frequent updates. That is also in the description and in my channel description. So yeah, if you want to hear more from me other than these videos, why not go along to one of those and check those out? And I do have to thank So Not The Hero Type for setting up the Discord for me. Thank you very much for doing that. He has a channel as well. Go check it out. Very informative RP1 playthrough that he is currently doing. But here we return to Hermes VIII on the 8th of February 1965, where we are going to be doing our first flyby of a Galilean moon, and it's going to be the closest one. It is Io. And when I did the stream, I was so incredibly happy with how cool this shot looked. Just the silhouette of Hermes VIII against the surface of Io. Basically, the sun was being occluded by Jupiter, so we got a really, really cool shot of our little space probe as it flew by Io. Unfortunately, we weren't in communications range with Earth because Jupiter was occluding Earth. However, I did set up all of my experiments on Hermes VIII correctly, so even though we weren't talking with Earth as we were going by Io, we were still running those experiments, and as soon as we came back into communication range, we were able to transmit all that data back to Earth and get a lot of science. You can see there we've completed the contract. Io flyby has been done. Now what I want to do is I want to set up a maneuver node because it would be nice to fly by another one of those Galilean moons, and it looks like we can actually get an encounter with Callisto on our next flyby, which will be very nice indeed, because that won't actually take an awful amount of time to get to. I think I'm going to add a little maneuver node to actually see when we get there, but we've also kept our inclination the same, which is very nice as well, because then it once again opens us up to reaching another one of those Galilean moons. There we go, Hermes VIII. In 25 days, we will be encountering Callisto. So, with that done, we are going to be looking into launching Serenity II, which will be our next attempt at sending man and landing them on the moon. Now, I did have a couple of special astronauts for this. We had Phil and So Not the Hero Type on board. So here we are, Serenity II, the crew of Jane Jones, So Not the Hero Type, and Phil, all on board the HERACLES Super 64 launch vehicle, launched on the 9th of March 1965. Now, I did do an entire cinematic special episode of this mission. That was the last episode that I actually released, and I wanted to still show this episode. I still wanted to show this launch because obviously it's another major launch. But if you want to see, well, once again, if you want to see this kind of episode more in full, go check out The Kestrel Has Landed, my previous video. It's basically the same. Or you can watch this entire thing happening live on the stream, which was the last thing that I actually uploaded to YouTube. But anyway, we are now performing our translunar injection with that J2 engine. Everything went fine. So as soon as that was done, we decided to break the spacecraft up and do our transposition and docking as well. Now that we have our encounter with the moon, we need to configure our spacecraft so that it is actually correct and that all of the working parts are fit together. There we have the spacecraft breaking apart. That Tranquility Orbiter is going to do a little bit of a flip around. We're going to target the top of the Kestrel lander. We're going to activate MechJeb's autopilot, docking autopilot, because it's very good at what it does. And we will just wait for that to dock into the Kestrel lander. That was a little bit worrying there. I thought, whoa, are we going to bump straight into that thing? But no, the docking autopilot did manage to pull us away in time. And there we are docked. Everything in the mission is put together. We're going to perform our barbecue roll as we go towards the lunar surface. Well, not the lunar surface, just the moon, I guess. Put ourselves in a bit of a spin as we move towards the moon. And then once again, we're going to use that AJ-10-137 engine to capture at the moon. This took a really long time to do. I'm not sure if you can see that burn time there, but it's just approaching 5 minutes. Like I said, I am very sorry for the potato quality of the first half of this video. Do not worry, the second half has been fixed. I think it may be something to do with the recording software that I was using. I was using not what I usually do to record these episodes, so hopefully I've got it all fixed now, but that will be something we have to see the next time I stream, I guess. And I think, talking of the next time I stream, I am considering once again next Monday doing a Kerbal Gets Real stream for the first half of 1966. I feel like I should be able to get everything done for then. So That's not confirmed yet, but I will be trying to do that. But anyway, the Kestrel has landed for the second time, and So Not the Hero Type is going to be the first one of that crew on that lander to make his way down the ladder and touch down on the moon's surface. I forgot to place a flag. I only realized this maybe, well, about a day after doing the stream. It just hit me suddenly. I was like, oh no. When I brought those 2 astronauts down, I didn't even leave a flag on the surface. So this mission obviously is a complete failure. So yeah, that was really terrible of me. But there we go. The Kestrel once again has taken flight. It has gained its wings and it is on its way back to the Tranquility Orbiter. Now, something that happened in this section of the flight that really scared me is you can see just about here, you can see my periaps has now actually dipped below the surface of the moon, though my separation is only 0.3 kilometers. So I was really excited I'd got a good separation. However, I didn't realize I was going to smash back into the surface of the moon. I did just in time though, and well, we got very low to the lunar surface, as you can see here, traveling very quickly past that. But I noticed in time and we were able to burn a little bit to avoid smashing into the moon's surface and reunite with the Tranquility Orbiter, as we can see here. And Phil and So Not the Hero Type were we managed to get them safely back into the Tranquility Orbiter before we send it on its way back to Earth once again so we could splash down. I'm not entirely sure where we splashed down here. It was in the ocean somewhere, but here we are. Serenity II, once again, was a complete success. So now just a quick stop off at the Space Center after the success of Serenity II. You can see we've got 5.5 million funds in the bank. We've got 550 science. We are going to get round to spending that shortly. But first, we have Hermes VIII once again on the 3rd of April 1965. This time we are going to be flying by Callisto. On our not quite so grand tour of the Jupiter system, we are going to be missing out Ganymede, so we're not going to be going everywhere. But not even 3 days later, COORS LIGHT on an ICARUS X launch vehicle on the 6th of April 1965. Now, I have to say a very big thank you to Cosmonaut Crash for the name of this mission. He came up with it in the live stream. It's amazing. So, COORS LIGHT stands for the Carnasa Orbital Observatory Research Station Limited Geohemispheric Telescope. So, of course, that's what I was going to use. It was brilliant, and well, COORS LIGHT is the acronym. It just fits. Everything fits together perfectly. But we were able to successfully launch this on top of an ICARUS X launch vehicle. Once again, they're very reliable now. I've been using them for a very long time, and actually, one thing that I'm thinking of doing is going in and redesigning a lot of my launch vehicles. I know they're all super reliable now, but they are getting a little bit old. I think ICARUS X was designed at the start of the 60s, so it's probably about time I went in and did another build episode focusing entirely on a new fleet of launch vehicles, so be sure to look out for that soon. But anyway, we are now performing our circularization burn at around 450 kilometers for the station to remain in, and we are going to get that little stage and we are going to return it to Earth. Well, not return it, we're going to burn it up in the atmosphere on re-entry. So we now have the COORS LIGHT station in orbit around Earth. Obviously, that is the first half of that first space station contract completed. The next thing that we are going to have to do, we are going to have to work on that LEO shuttle, fill it up with a crew, and send it up to meet that space station. But that will be occurring shortly. We have Hermes VIII once again that we are going to have to pay attention to before we launch that mission because, well, it's going to meet Europa on its final flyby of its mission's life. Now, we aren't going to be doing anything more with Hermes VIII because, unfortunately, after this flyby, it will have run out of fuel. So, but it's done a good job anyway. So here we are on the 14th of May 1965, Hermes VIII going to be flying past Europa, and we are going to get incredibly close to the surface of Europa. I think, if I remember correctly, the closest point we're going to be only about 50,000 meters above the surface of that icy moon. We're going to perform all kinds of scientific experiments as we scream past the surface. Maybe, well, probably not have enough time to be scanning for any signs of life under that thick ice shell in the oceans that probably are underneath. But like I said, it was a very close flyby, and of course, because we are going so fast, we didn't remain in Europa's sphere of influence for a particularly long amount of time, but enough to get us a fair whack more of science. So, with Hermes VIII all done, it's time to move to the LEO shuttle. I do really need to think up of a name for that mission. It's gonna be called something eventually, I just couldn't think of what to call it during the live stream. But here we are, on the 14th of May 1965, on an ICARUS X launch vehicle, the COORS LIGHT crew is going to be going to space. We are going to hopefully rendezvous with the COORS LIGHT space station, where the crew will remain for at least 30 days. So the contract requires you to stay up in the station for 30 days. However, I still have the 14 days in orbit contract to complete, and I still have the 30 days in orbit contract to complete. There we go. We have a lovely picturesque view of the sunrise over the Atlantic Ocean as we make our way into orbit. But anyway, as I was saying, yes, I want to complete all of those contracts in this mission. So, because it doesn't reset when... Well, no, it does reset. When you complete the 14-day contract, the 30-day contract starts from day one. So, I want to keep this mission in orbit for at least 44 days. When I built COORS LIGHT, it has enough supplies in there to last 3 astronauts around 75 days, so we are more than capable of being able to do that. I did want to include the build of that in this episode. Unfortunately, when I was doing the live stream, I did forget to actually hit record at the same time as I was streaming. So we're not going to see the build of COORS LIGHT. Well, we can see COORS LIGHT coming in rapidly now. Here we are, we have done our rendezvous. Now all that's left to do is to actually dock to it using the Tranquility Orbiter. We are still using the same design. The Tranquility Orbiter has really seen us well. But here we are doing our final approach to the station. Now the camera angle does get a bit weird here because I tried to use CameraTools, and as soon as you actually dock to something, so yeah, we get this nice spinny shot. But once we dock to it, yep, we're inside the spacecraft because of the way docking works. Now we are gonna have to wait in the map view for a while whilst we wait for the days to count down to complete our mission. So we need to wait 44 days at least to complete that 30-day contract in space and that 14-day contract. But after staying here for, well, quite a long time, we transfer the crew. Richard Owens, Ellen Baker, and Bonnie Ellis. I wasn't sure who it was, but now I can see. So yeah, we're going to transfer them back to the Tranquility Orbiter. We are going to leave COORS LIGHT in space, and we are going to bring these brave astronauts back down to Earth after being the crew that have spent by far the longest amount of time in space. It was definitely over 44 days. I think it may have been even a little bit longer. So yeah, they have broken many milestones on this mission, and now we can see them returning to Earth. And the reason why I have let this scene play a little bit longer, I would usually cut a lot of the descent in, but I have got those new particle effects for re-entry. For some reason they didn't show for Serenity II, but they are there, and you could see them there, and they look absolutely amazing. So that was actually the last launch of 1965 Part 1, and now I'm going to spend quite a little bit of time in mission control, because obviously completing that first space station contract, well, we got a lot of money once again, and we've unlocked a load of new contracts, including sending space stations to Mars, to the moon, and I did actually go in and pick up that lunar space station. But that's not why we're in the vehicle assembly building now. No, I am going to extend COORS LIGHT. I am going to extend its, well, life for a little bit. So what I'm doing here is building basically a new module for the space station that should hopefully mean we can send astronauts to stay up there for an entire year. I did mention in the live stream that I didn't want to do this, but when I came back to the episode, on second thoughts, well, I got contracts to send new crew up to there, and I thought, well, I've got a space station up there anyway. I might as well extend its life and just get money for sending crew back and forth up to the space station. So what I'm trying to do here is I've got Universal Storage 2 installed, and let me tell you, I spent a really long time trying to figure out how to make this look decent and how to get kind of components inside that Universal Storage. What I wanted was life support really, or batteries or ways of generating power. Unfortunately, the way that particular part of Universal Storage works, when it shuts, you can see there that the batteries kind of clip through that fairing. I didn't want to do that, so what I eventually had to do in the end was actually just put a few little bits of scientific equipment at the top. And yeah, it wasn't the best, but it was something that I could actually fit in. And now you can see on the side there, I've got 2 additional docking ports. Originally, the plan is going to be that will be where our capsules meet with the extended COORS LIGHT. Now, that's going to be the original plan. One thing as well is obviously we can extend the space station further with those docking ports. I'm not sure how much use this space station is going to be, because when I originally launched it, I didn't launch it into the plane of the moon. I just launched it willy-nilly whenever I could. When it was daylight, I think, because I did want a daylight launch. So it is not aligned with the moon in any way at all. So coming back to talking about having not a long life on this station, I think maybe I will just do this one extension, send a crew up for a year just to prove that we can last for a year. This thing does have a lot of shielding on it, so hopefully we won't suffer too many adverse effects from radiation. I believe COORS LIGHT just about clips through one of the Van Allen belts for a very brief period of time, but we do have an awful lot of shielding on it, so hopefully, yes, we can send a crew up here for a year, see how it affects them, and then we will probably take this down and rebuild a new, better, a bigger and improved station in the plane of the moon. And we can kind of maybe even use that as a gateway between sending missions from low Earth orbit to the moon. It's something that I've kind of wanted to do for a while. I'm not sure how feasible it would be, but basically maybe have a craft on COORS, well, not COORS LIGHT, the next iteration of space station that we're gonna be sending up. There is basically a ferry between low Earth orbit and the moon, and we refill that craft every now and then. I'll have to see. I think I'm gonna have to go through a lot of testing and designing for something like that. And to be honest, I'm not sure entirely how feasible that's gonna be anyway, because really the fuels we're gonna be wanting to use for that are gonna be hypergolic, which they've not got the best specific impulse, but we can store them for a really long time. So I don't know. It will be something that I have to look into, and it would be really cool if I could do something like that, but we'll just have to see. But that was the build of the extension of COORS LIGHT. And with that, that is going to be the end of 1965 Part 1. You can see we are now on the 1st of July, 1965. And that means it's the end of this episode. I know it's been quite a long episode. Obviously, I streamed half of it and I finished the rest off in my own time. But yeah, very pleased with how things went during this episode. But if you have enjoyed this episode, why not go and give it a like? If you have really enjoyed this episode and would like to continue with the content on my channel, please do consider subscribing. I have been Carnasa, and I will see you later.